Today I want to talk about Vulfpeck and why they're awesome. I'll be talking about why their sound is so uniquely brilliant and successful in fusing genres and styles, the tone with which they present themselves through their music, on stage and online, and the mythical prowess of their bassist, Joe Dart. But first, some groundwork. The band was founded in Michigan and first became active in 2011. The four-piece was originally made up of Jack Stratton on keys, drums and guitar, Theo Katzman on guitar, drums and vocals, Woody Goss on keys and Joe Dart on bass. Their first two EPs came out in 2011 and 2012. Mitpeck and Volmilk are deeply funky and fully instrumental albums and produce some of the band's most loved tracks to date. These two records preceded their third EP, My First Car, which came out a year later. It's on this album that they take an important step away from a purely funk sound and begin their enduring collaboration with vocalist Antoine Stanley. In March 2014, they released their first LP, Sleepify, to this day one of the most ingenious releases of the 21st century in my eyes. Sleepify is composed of silence. There are 10 tracks, 30 seconds each, that are totally silent. No music, nothing. The idea was to get listeners to play the album on loop on Spotify whilst they slept and generate enough royalties to fund Vulfpeck's tour. And it worked. Billboard reported they generated around $20,000 that the band then used to organise an admission-free tour in the US. The record not only caused Spotify to reevaluate their royalty calculation model, but highlighted there was a demand for Vulfpeck given all the people that took part and the extents the band were willing to go to share their music with everyone. Later that same year, they released their final EP, Fugue State, which I feel is the spiritual relative to My First Car, just a little more polished and developed. Since 2015, they've released 4 full-length LPs, with the latest being released in 2018. There's a notable arc in style and the way they make music across these records, and that's what I want to talk about next. Vulfpeck's discography is laden with references and appreciation to funk, R&B, soul, jazz, fusion, pop, rock, and more. The band members cite artists like The Meters, Fish, Thelonious Monk, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Steely Dan, and Joni Mitchell as some of their primary influences. Such a stylistically eclectic list of influences doesn't seem that surprising once you become familiar with Vulfpeck's own body of work. There's a notable evolution in Vulfpeck's sound across their discography. If we take the opening track from their first ever release, we can hear an immediate and clear influence from The Meters. The track is deeply rooted in funk traditions from the 1970s, with its emphasis on bass and drums, and a distinct catchy bass line. If we jump to the other end of their discography, we're able to hear the evolution that's taken place. The fifth track from Hill Climber features Mike Viola, a singer best known for working with Ryan Adams and has been active since the mid-80s. On this track we can prominently hear some Steely Dan vibes coming through thanks to Viola's vocals and the lap guitar.
For survival, out there on Saturn, they're drinking holy wine, all Kubrick smile.
Of course, these two tracks aren't wholly representative of the albums they're from, but they highlight the point that Vulfpeck are a band with a rich tapestry of musical knowledge and appreciation, something which would be useless if not for their ability to interpret and innovate, something which I believe they do well and is legitimized by their collaboration with big names like Bernard Purdie, Bootsy Collins, Cory Henry, James Gadson, and David T. Walker, to name a few. Vulfpeck's musical versatility, sheer talent, and stylistic trailblazing is why they're awesome. I haven't come across many other bands that market themselves with the same tone as Vulfpeck. You can feel it in their music, their live performances, and even in their online presence. It's a light-hearted, fun, easygoing tone. They sell themselves as down-to-earth guys that love playing music with one another. But don't take my word for it, take Paul Dano's. I sometimes want to listen to stuff that has a sense of humour, and Vulfpeck is a good time. If they were taking themselves too seriously, it might be a little hard because they're so white, like Michigan white. But they somehow pull it off. They're very good players, but there's something about the way they let their freak flag fly that gives off a really healthy energy. When you see somebody be themselves completely, not conforming to anything and finding an audience, it's a real miracle. There's no compromise there. You can see glimpses of their freak flag flying in many of their live performances. Take their incredible gig at the Ancienne Belgique. It begins with each band member being introduced to the stage by an announcer in the style of a baseball game. And during the performance, band leader Jack Stratton, donning a microphone headset, takes on the title of Master of Ceremonies as he commentates and reacts to the gig.
Where are we going? Where's this train going?
It's an odd choice, but it totally fits with their style and what they're all about. It draws the group closer with the fans and highlights that the concert is a shared experience. A similar thing happens during some of their songs. The music will be interrupted by these funny random vocal interludes that sound like something out of a Frank Zappa track. Take a listen to this clip from Darwin Derby.
Of all the creatures in the sea, my favorite is the bass. It climbs up all the rocks and trees and slides down on its hands and knees. But why does the shark have teeth? The shark has teeth to eat.
It's a silly interlude that plays with the listener's expectation of how this lyric will end following the rhyme scheme. Or a slightly different example is this excerpt from Mr. Finish Line.
A feline saved by a Stratton keeper. He rolls it out to Catsman, the spiritual leader and sweeper. A quick pass to Huckle. Great team ball over to Wong. Working their way up to Dart, the general. A midi everyone can get behind. He's flanked by Darcy.
We can again see a clear allusion to sports as we hear commentary from a football game with the musicians being referred to as players. When I first heard these unconventional interludes, I found them kind of alienating. But after getting familiar with the band and their philosophy, it really fits in and adds to the experience. Vulfpeck are a band befitting of the digital age. They've been able to cultivate an online persona that expresses their passion and fun-loving nature through aesthetic. If we take a look at their website, we can see it's incredibly bare. I see it as a statement of transparency. There's no pretense of a huge, excessive band. It's a humbling and simple site that has strong linearity to their merch, live shows, even trademark fonts and compressors, but most importantly, their YouTube channel, by having nearly every song in the track listings linked to the respective music video. I would say the Vulf YouTube channel is the keystone of the band's online success. The videos are quirky, low budget and aesthetically lo-fi, but there's a purposeful style that runs through them all. The content itself is made up of music videos, live performances, tutorials of their own music, or videos like this one. An edit of Bernard Purdie and Herbie Hancock playing separately, being stitched together to sound like they're jamming. It's the kind of content you would expect from a fan channel. Vulfpeck are eschewing that distance that has typically existed between bands and fans. Their online presence, live performances and tone in their music makes them seem human, and that's part of what makes them awesome. The final point I want to discuss relates to Joe Dart. Joe Dart the bassist, Joe Dart with the sunglasses, Joe Dart the god. There's an aura around Dart that makes him the special one. The fans acknowledge it, and even the band acknowledge it by having him come on stage last, like a superstar, because they know his intro will draw the biggest cheer from the crowd. I like to think of all this as the cult of Dart. And why does he get this treatment? Well, he's an incredible bass player, like really incredible. His speed, dexterity and ability is hugely impressive, and his ingenuity when writing bass parts is exquisite. A supreme example of his bass playing is the track Deantown, a fantastic display of Dart's writing ability and technical adeptness. There are obvious similarities to Weather Report's Teentown when it comes to the title and structure. It's a clear homage to Jaco Pastorius, one of the finest and most important electric bassists of all time, and similar to Teentown, allows the bass guitar to be the melodic center point of the track. The cult of Dart is born from his style and virtuosity as a musician. It's something that engrosses fans, and it's a big part of why I think Vulfpeck are awesome. I think Vulfpeck are one of the most exciting bands of today. They have the ability and ambition to fuse and reinvent genres, Their light-hearted tone is a welcome relief to the masses of bands that take themselves far too seriously, and Joe Dart is just a wonderful musician to listen to. If you haven't already, check them out. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for any future videos or topics you'd like me to do, please list them down in the comments below and I'll be sure to take a read. Thanks again.